Hey friends, welcome back to the I Encourage podcast. Thanks for joining me again today. And it is my goal to encourage you. And then I really would like for you to then go out and encourage others. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a part of your family, a neighbor, a coworker. I want you to be an encourager. I want you to encourage you. You know, people today really need a cheerleader and not a critic. Man, I want to be the biggest cheerleader for other people. I want to help them. I want to stand beside them. I want to encourage them. And man, I encourage you to do the same thing. Encourage others. And man, our world needs encouragement. I think like never before. Our world needs encouragement. And I want you to be full of courage. Did you know you can only give out what you have, what you possess? Man, I could ask you for $1 million and you could want to give me $1 million. But if you don't have $1 million, how can you give me $1 million? Well, how can you go out and encourage others unless you are encouraged yourself? And even the Bible says, I believe it's in the book of, I think it's in Proverbs. It says, those that refresh others will themselves be refreshed. And that's what I want to be in your life. I want to refresh you. I want to give you hope in a hopeless situation. And so thanks again for joining in. And if you tuned into last week's podcast, you know I was talking about attitude. We all have an attitude. And we've been, for the last several podcasts, talking about overcoming discouragement. One of the key things that you and I have to possess to overcome discouragement is a good attitude. A good attitude about life. And here's the other thing about attitude. It's your choice. You either have a great attitude or you have a bad attitude. And I think it was a gentleman by the name of Chris Robinson, who's part of the John Maxwell team. Oh, Chris is a great speaker. And so I enjoy listening to him speak. And I heard Chris say one time, you know, attitude isn't everything, but it is the difference maker. Attitude is a difference maker in your life and in my life. And I mentioned John Maxwell. Here's a quote from John. It says, people may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. And that's what personally, and I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling this way. And when I walk into a room full of people, you know what I want them to sense about myself? I want them to sense hope. I want them to sense a positive attitude. When I walk into a room, I want hope to walk into a room. Why? Because I want to carry hope for a hopeless world. And I want to carry encouragement for a world that's discouraged. And I love, again, let me just read it again, what John Maxwell said. People may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. Man, and I want to be that difference maker in the lives of people, carrying a great attitude. And I shared on last week's podcast about how a man named Paul in the Bible said, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. And let me just say it a different way, and I think I'm okay with saying it this way. Have a great attitude. And again, I say, have a great attitude. It is the difference maker, my friend. And so today I just want to continue to talk about attitude and how it's going to help you out of discouraging situations. Did you know a bad attitude can bring you into discouragement? I think it's a vicious cycle. A bad attitude and discouragement. Just a vicious cycle of bad attitude and discouragement. Why? Because, listen, how you see things is how you're going to do things. Let me say that again. I know I've said it before. How you see things is how you do things. And if you have a bad attitude about life, now you're going to do things with a bad attitude. And it's going to keep you in discouragement. It's just, again, a vicious cycle. Why? As I read the last podcast, Chuck Swindoll said he believes that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. I believe that's so true because every one of us have just negative things that have happened to us that can cause discouragement. Difficult things, tragic things that have happened to us. Sometimes if we're not careful, we can be guilty of, seeing a person that's always full of hope, that's always full of encouragement, that has a great attitude about life. We can be guilty of basically saying, well, they don't know what I've went through. Well, friend, you don't know what they went through. They just haven't shared it with you. Because we all go through very difficult times in life. And your attitude determines how you're going to come out of that situation. And attitude is just basically a set way of thinking, a set way of living life. It's our mental capacity. And we can, again, choose a good or a bad attitude. I wanted to read something to you also, a quote by a man named Viktor Frankl. Now, man, this guy's life, you talk about going through struggles. It was during World War II, and he survived 4 different Nazi concentration camps, one of those being Auschwitz. Just a horrible place to be. And he made this statement, and this, to me, this really blows my mind. It really does. And I think of a woman named Corrie ten Boom. I've talked about a lot in the church that I pastor, who was in a concentration camp, and one of the places that they had to stay was full of fleas. I mean, it was full of different women there and fleas. But yet she saw it as a positive thing because the guards wouldn't come in. So they had Bible studies there in that place that they were sleeping. They had different Bible studies, and the guards would never come in because of the fleas. So she thanked God because of the fleas. That's a great attitude. And I can't say, if you read the book The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom, while she was there, her sister was there at the concentration camp with her. There were times that Corrie had a bad attitude, and her sister helped her during those times. But friends, overall, she had a great attitude. And let me get back to Viktor Frankl. I didn't mean to chase a rabbit there, but I was just thinking about Corrie ten Boom as I thought about a concentration camp and what I know she went through. She went through it largely and made it through it because she had a good attitude about it. Well, here it was. Viktor Frankl says this: everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms. To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. What a powerful statement about a man who survived 4 different Nazi concentration camps. He said, of all the attitudes, things that could be taken away from you, one of the things that could never be taken away from you is your ability to choose your attitude. Wow. Man, that's something. Man, I can't really wrap my mind around that, and my heart around that. That this man who went through 4 different concentration camps, and Auschwitz being one of them, a horrible camp. The atrocities that took place, the tragedies. I mean, the way they were treated by the guards, the Nazi guards, and people that died there in that camp. They were. I know this may sound a bit graphic, but it's just truth. They were burned to death. Just blows my mind that this man would talk about the one human freedom that can never be taken away from you is your ability to choose your attitude, whether it's good or whether it's bad. A woman by the name of Oprah Winfrey, that so many of us know and have heard of, made this statement: the greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change his future by merely changing his or her attitude. Whoa, think about that. We can change our future by merely changing our attitude. Friends, your attitude's important. I can't express that enough to you. And that you have the ability to choose your attitude. A very short story. I can remember one Sunday morning I was in a hurry to get to church and didn't want any distractions. And if I've shared this before, I know I've shared it with the church family. If I've shared it before on the podcast, just bear with me. I just feel like I need to share it again here. Man, I was in a hurry. I needed to get to the church. I like getting to the church early on Sunday morning so I can continue to just go over the message that I'm going to share. I can pray over the congregation. And I was just in a hurry to do that. And I was driving out of my driveway. We live out in the country. And I was driving down my driveway and about to pull out on the dirt road. And here comes a man named Ed Fisher. And Ed's wife had just died of cancer. And I'd seen them. They walked all the time with their dog down the road that we live on. And they lived a very healthy life, but yet she had cancer and she passed away suddenly. Really, it was quick. And I just feel like I need to stop and talk to Ed. And at first I'm thinking, man, I need to go. I mean, I don't have time to stop and, talk with Ed. But then I just felt like I needed to. I stopped. He was right there at my driveway with his dog there. And every time a car would come by where they were walking, he would stop and he'd make his dog stop. And so I just stopped right there, rolled down my window, and I'm getting ready to encourage Ed. I'm getting ready, because I know he's been mourning. I'm getting ready to just try and lift him up, maybe pray for him or something. But did you know that, Ed encouraged me? When I rolled down the window, I asked, Ed, how you doing? He's like, hey, can I bless you today? Can I pray for you today? Ed wanted to encourage me, and he did encourage me. When I'm the one wrestling with, hey, man, I've got to get going. I've got to get back. I've got to get to the church. I've got things to do. But I'm okay. I'll stop and I'll try and encourage Ed. But in turn, he encouraged me. And he's right there. He prayed for me. And he prayed for the people of Encounter Church. He had a great attitude. Sure, he mourned his wife's death. But in this moment, he had a great attitude about life. He's like, can I bless you, Pastor? And he prayed for me. Wow, I was so encouraged. He brought encouragement to my life when I was there to bring encouragement to his life. Remember what I said earlier? Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. Well, man, I got refreshed in that moment by a man who had just lost his wife, but yet he still had a great attitude. He was still living life, even though he had just lost his wife. Wow. That's what I'm talking about, friend. In a moment of discouragement in his life, he had a great attitude. And he was able to encourage me and bless me that day. That's what I'm talking about here today, of having a great attitude. Thank you again for joining me for the I Encourage podcast. Join me again for the next episode of this podcast, because I'm still going to be talking about attitude and how important it is for you and I to have a good attitude in life. Hey, go out and encourage someone else today.